The festive season is currently in full swing and many are taking leave to spend some of their summer holidays in various parts of the country. But being with family full time can also be stressful. I mean, children get bored and want attention, but everything then costs money. So with a whole lot of power cuts on top of this, people are emotionally, mentally and physically exhausted. Kerry Rudman runs an organization specializing in retraining brains, and she joins us to share ways to cope with the end of year stress. Kerry, thank you for your time. And good morning.
Thank you for letting me be here.
We appreciate it so much because the timing couldn't be perfect because we know what parents are going through right now, cost of living, having to entertain the kids amongst other things. So it could be equally fun, but also stressful. So you are a neurofeedback organization. What exactly does that mean?
So essentially we balance brainwaves in people's heads. When you have insomnia, depression, you battle to concentrate, focus, you have anxiety, any of those things are imbalances in your brain.
Yeah.
So your brain maybe starts off with a normal level, and every time you go through stress, you actually form new neural pathways in your head. So what we do is we show your brain how to let all that stuff go and come back to your central nervous system. So it's a bit like learning to stand on one leg through all the stresses. We show your brain how to stand on two legs to be balanced. And once you've felt that, it's very hard to go back to one leg again.
Is it easier though? Because I can imagine if you have built up on these habits over the years, is it easier to retrain your brain?
It is easy in comparison to other techniques out there. We call what we do an intensive, and it really is intense, and some people find it pretty hard to get through the hours. People are not used to spending time just for themselves. So sometimes we run up to 4-hour sessions at a time, and for somebody to turn off and not do something for 4 hours is often very difficult.
Yeah.
But once we get through it, it's actually almost in 3 weeks, your life can change completely.
I like that. 3 weeks' time, then absolutely you could have a retrained brain and how it operates. So usually at this time of the year, I just mentioned a couple of examples. It could be a stressful time, it could be fun, but also equally stressful for most South Africans. What anxiety do people generally deal with during the festive season, though, in your experience?
So I think after COVID, we've had a collective post-traumatic stress, and last year we were prepared for lockdown. We were prepared not to see our families.
Right.
This year people have overworked. They're trying to catch up for what they missed out on. So they're pushing themselves a lot harder than they ever have. So I think it's deadlines, making sure that you have everything done plus more. Family stress, getting everything sorted. You want to have a really good festive season because we can see family, we can be with people.
Yeah.
But that adds a lot of stress. Load shedding is just fabulous. It adds much more work stress because people are working hours that are crazy to try and catch up for what they haven't done in the day.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of stresses, definitely. And financially, people are still trying to catch up from what they lost and making sure that they can go through something like this again.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned financial stress, because I was about to get into the point of how the year was stressful, probably still is, and you're still planning for next year. You're planning not to be broke in January, making sure everything is up to date, and you're planning for your children. So how do we then cope, do you advise, with this stressful time?
So I think there are a couple of points that would really work. The one is, don't expect everything to be perfect. Don't sweat the small stuff. It's never going to be perfect. So choose your wars. The second one is that you're going to have difficult colleagues. You're going to have difficult family members. If you're invited to events or parties or any situation that's going to put you under stress, say no. Go home and watch Netflix, eat chocolate. Do something for your mental health instead of putting yourself in those situations. Or go for a drive or a walk. Anything that's going to make you feel good in you.
Yeah.
Budgeting. Don't overspend for Christmas. Everybody does it. Stick to a budget. Plan what it is that you're going to do so that you know that your January money is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then planning. Planning is a good one
as well, right?
But leaving things to the last minute, if it's a deadline at work or if it's planning Christmas lunch, that all adds stress. We have to look after our mental health, so don't do that. You feel on top of things when you've planned everything out equally and you have enough time for each step.
I'm glad you emphasize on mental health because, I wonder how significant, or rather the impact of retraining your brain, and how does it contribute then to one's mental health? Because when you retrain your brain into good habits, I suppose, and you make sure your mental health is in check, surely that shows and manifests even physically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, especially after this year, people are frazzled, they're tired. So the more tired you are, the more you're not looking after yourself, you start getting headaches, your sleep quality suffers. So depression, anxiety, stress, all those things set in. So that's hitting you physically. But mentally, there's a lot of stress going on where people are lonely. A lot of people are suicidal. So we have to find a way to balance that so that people can cope.
Do you find that people also struggle because they try and do everything alone? They try and handle it all together as opposed to asking for help until your body says, you can't do this anymore?
Yes, absolutely. The irony is that those people who are really taking strain are normally the people who look good. So nobody checks in on them to say, are you okay? But outwardly, they look like they're coping and they're all right. But they go home and they're all alone and they're sad and going through depression and all sorts of things.
Right.
So that was one of my points, is to talk about where we're at. Often if we just talk about it and open that conversation, we'll find that there are many people who are in the same boat.
Right. And who have found probably a rhythm to making sure that they receive the help that they need while also keeping their mental health in check. But thank you so much, Kerry, for joining us. This is sound advice that I'm sure everyone could relate to and needs at this time, not only for this year, but also preparing into the new year. And some of those tips that I personally, would practice myself: managing expectations, setting aside any differences, asking for help. I know it's difficult also being a parent. Ask for help this festive season, of course, and make sure that your mental health is in check. Kerry Rudman joining us right here all the way from Brain Harmonic.